So now we're going to go to our story, which is just tragic. Good morning, Molly. Good morning, Ryan.
Morning.
Good morning.
So your beautiful little Josie, this was just August of this year.
Yeah.
August 21st.
Look at that picture. She's just beautiful. I'm going to let you, in your own words, talk us through what happened to Josie.
So on August 19th, it was actually our wedding anniversary. Josie had her 4-month well visit at the pediatrician. And of course, with that, our vaccines. And we blindly walked into that. And she received her vaccines for the day, 2 shots of mixed vaccines and then an oral. And 2 days later, our perfect, beautifully healthy baby girl, full of joy, full of love, went down for her afternoon nap and never woke back up. We had no signs, nothing. I mean, she was literally the happiest, most perfect baby. We used to say to each other, we don't deserve her. She is literally the perfect baby. And in an instant, she was taken from us. And the only reason fathomable is from the vaccines. Her 11-pound little body could not take all of that at one time.
She had polio, pneumococcal, and DTaP that day. Correct?
And rotavirus.
And rotavirus. Okay.
Yeah, she had 2 injections. She had 1 on each thigh, and then oral.
Even in the hospital, she still had her Band-Aids from her vaccines when she passed away. So that's the only thing that could have caused it.
And did you tell the doctors that this is what she'd had? What was their response?
So I've been dealing with our pediatrician for 14 years with our oldest daughter. She's great. She basically was just appalled at the fact that that she had a clean bill of health, and then out of nowhere just stopped breathing. So she did actually fill out a VAERS report for us. So that's one step in the right direction. But it's been tough. From the day that she stopped breathing to doing CPR in front of my wife and kids, her sisters, to getting her back. I got pulses back, and she lived for about 3 days on life support.
I mean, she was really gone.
She was really gone, but she
21st.
She was 100% healthy, prior to the vaccinations, and even with genetic testing with my wife and I and her, it was we were completely negative. We had no signs of anything in genetics.
Her blood work came back clear. They even did like some scans to prove her brain death, and they didn't see anything really out of the norm there. She literally, I mean, look at her. She's perfect, beautiful, perfect, healthy, advanced in all of her milestones. She was rolling both ways, lifting her head up, no compromised airways. Like, she was perfect.
Yeah, she, and that's kind of what I had spoke to, being a paramedic. I know, like, how a baby can maintain their airway, how they're able to hold up their head and stuff. She was at 4 months, but she was at a 6-month mile marker. Like I said, like my wife said, she was lifting her head, looking around. She could hold the weight of her head up. We didn't even have to cradle her and support her head anymore. You could hold her on your side, and she would look around just like an 8-month-old baby, 6 to 8 months old. So it's just been hard.
I can't imagine how hard this has been for you. So you have 3 other daughters. So let's talk about this for a second, because you clearly weren't anti-vax because you vaccinated your children.
Yep.
So did you ever hear about issues with vaccines before?
No. And actually, when we went back to check the vaccine schedule for our other girls, um, for our 5-year-old and our 3-year-old, we unintentionally had a delayed schedule because what Lacey, our 5-year-old, she was during COVID, so we weren't going to the doctor in person. And then with Emily, she was sick, and I just didn't feel right giving her, injections while she was sick. So unintentionally, we delayed that vaccine schedule for those girls. And with Josie, we didn't have that. We just blindly followed. We trusted our pediatrician. We, trusted the medical field and the experts, if you will.
We follow the CDC's guidelines, and looking back now, I wish we had waited till, even if we did end up vaccinating, spread the schedule out and wait till she's beyond the vulnerable age, where infants can't. Their immune system are suppressed. They're not as good to fight off things. At least wait till she's 18 months old to give vaccines if you are going to.
I think one of the most surprising things that we have found is that talking to our primary care doctor, our pediatrician, other doctors, they're not even aware of vaccine court and how you can't even, sue the vaccine companies and they're protected by the government. They are completely unaware of that.
None of them knew about the Vaccine Act of '86. It's just.
Brian and Mollie, how does this make you feel with vaccinations going forward?
We absolutely will not do that to our children at this point. Like we feel as if we have to research literally everything.
I think for us, we got to be able to evaluate risk versus reward moving forward, and it's just a lot of the things when you start doing the research and the backgrounds on the individual vaccines, what child at that age needs Hep B. They're not sexually active, and when mom doesn't carry Hep B, it can't. There's no need to pass. They can't pass it through vaginally. So there's no reason to have Hep B. That's just one of the vaccines that's just unnecessary at that age. So for us, I think it's not that we are completely against vaccinations, but we are going to do our due diligence to make sure that it's absolutely necessary and that it's not going to be harmful to our children. Like at this rate where we are, we probably won't vaccinate moving forward.
I mean, our eyes are completely open. We go out in public, and the second Ryan sees a baby, he doesn't hesitate to go tell Josie's story. Look at her. She just, we tell everybody, just, delay, at a minimum delay. Like these perfect tiny little babies, their bodies can't keep up with all that toxicity going in them. And why we even thought that they could, it just, looking back now, we could just
the signs
ourselves.
The signs were all there. It was all right in front of us, but it was just unknown to the public. And working as a medical professional, we only know what we are told and what we're taught. And it's to really find the true, information that's out there. You have to really do diligence to be able to find it.
Yeah.
How are your girls doing now? You were talking about how when you found Josie, they were there because you were performing CPR on her. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, she went down for her afternoon nap around 4, and
by 5:15.
By 5:15, she had stopped breathing, and we had started CPR on her, and
the girls
were just there with us watching everything happen.
They are our 5-year-old, I think emotionally she's handling it appropriately, but she has a lot of questions. And, like what happened to baby Josie, and I miss her so much. And she prays every night, for baby Josie. And she's like, well, if, heaven's so great, why don't we all go to heaven and be with baby Josie? So it's kind of hard for her. She's still seeing like black and white and needs answers, and we just don't really have them to give to her.
And her 3-year-old, she randomly on her own says, I miss baby Josie. And 2 weeks after it happened, she was performing CPR on her little baby doll. At 3 years old,
She was 2.
Yeah, she was 2 at the time. She just did turn 3. But at 2 years old, doing CPR on a baby doll, I mean,
and singing a song like "Wake Up, Baby Josie" while she was doing CPR. Like it's still with.
It's still with us. It's still with our girls. I mean, my 14-year-old is compartmentalizing, and we're all doing counseling, but it's just every day's different. Some days are definitely harder than others. And our 6-year-old, 5-year-old, she's writing Josie's name on all her school assignments. In kindergarten, it's Lacey and then Josie. Right as her name.
She writes Josie on everything. We have columns on our front porch that are white. She'll take a marker and write her name. Everything says "I love Josie." So it's a huge impact, whether they're 2, 5, 14. It's just been devastating for all of us.
I can't imagine. So tomorrow's Thanksgiving, and Josie should be 7, 8 months old with you tomorrow. Yeah. Tell people what they've taken from you.
She was the biggest joy and probably the hardest time of our lives, and she brought so much happiness to everyone. She smiled all the time. She gave those big open mouth wet kisses, and no matter what was going on, she always made it better.
She was always smiling. Like, very rarely did she ever cry. I mean, just so happy all the time.
Our 5-year-old is really, really hyper and, spunky, and Josie just put her at ease. She could just sit there for hours holding her, and she would just smile and giggle, and we missed everything. She was starting to blow raspberries, and,
Losing her just put a void in us that I don't know that we'll ever recover from.
No. It's really hard. People ask, like, how many children do you have? And like, we have 4, and our baby girl's in heaven. It's just really hard to explain. And I don't know. It's just the feeling losing a child is there's a piece of me completely gone that I will never get back.
I never recommend for anybody to have to go through this kind of pain. It's by far the worst. It's the whole, not getting her to see her do her milestones, like her to start walking, or, all our girls dance around in the living room in each other's dresses and stuff. And she'll never get to dance with me in the living room. Just see her grow up, that's done for her.
She just never had a chance to grow and have her Thanksgiving with us. And, she did do a lot. I mean, for her 4 months, she loved the beach. She was a good traveler with us. It's
just so crazy that as parents, you try to do what's best for your children and not doing our due diligence, and actually research and stuff. We try to do what's best for them, and we followed what the CDC recommended, and it ended up taking her from us. Trying to do what's best for her ended up being the worst.
Like, we're not meant mentally, physically, or anything to plan our baby's funeral. And that's something that just, everything haunts us every day. Going to sleep is impossible because you just keep reliving over and over what happened and seeing her in the hospital and the decisions that we were forced to make is it's kind of a hell that you live in every single day.
Thank you both for just being so brave to come on. What is your message to the young people? Because you don't have to be here right now telling the story. So what is your message to the young parents who want to follow their doctor? They want to follow the CDC. Why would they not?
Don't follow blindly. If anything, just start with a Google search about vaccines and studies, and things will start popping up to at least question.
And
even comparing with other countries, like a delayed vaccine schedule at a minimum, and what's in the vaccines, and read the warning labels, and all the things that we didn't do because we just were like, you know what, we need to follow what the doctor says. They're the expert. Really, I will tell you, we love our pediatrician, but there's too much stuff even for them to be on top of sometimes, and we are the best advocate for our children, and we need to be there to support and research. Don't go into anything blindly.
well, and the thing that we really like, even the pediatrician acknowledges is that, you know, following the CDC's guidelines, there's kickbacks to pediatricians. You know, they get kickbacks based on following the schedule. So, you know, and most pediatricians have a waiver that you sign that says, or not a waiver, but a basically a contract that says that in order to stay a part of that that pediatrician practice, that you have to follow their guidelines with vaccinations, or else they can release you as a patient. Stuff that you don't really realize when you sign in the beginning, you know, as a new patient, you just don't realize it.
Yeah, and listening to parents like you, this story is so important. I can't thank you enough. I don't know how you're doing it, but I'm so grateful to you for doing this, because we have done, sadly, so many stories of 4-month vaccination and then following death after the vaccine. So these stories are important, and these are what's warn the young parents ahead. We will never forget Josie. We're going to write Josie's name on our bus, which is 12,000 signatures between the two buses of death following vaccinations. And we will keep her on our website, and she will never be forgotten by our viewers. And I know that our viewers are showering you in so much love right now. Yes, Karen.
One other thing is, as a parent, after losing a child, don't just take, you know, their word for it and letting them call your child's death SIDS, because that's just such a general term that they give to everybody for any child that's, you know, 2 and under, basically. You know, don't stop there trying to find answers. You know, the state of Delaware for us won't even put further testing in to find more information on what happened. We have to push to request samples from the medical examiner to have it sent out to another, you know, agency to be able to research it.
If anything, if a doctor tries to say it's SIDS, that should be an immediate start your research to prove otherwise. And there are definitely avenues you can take to help spread the word, and that's what we're hanging on to now, is just trying to find, you know, platforms like you guys graciously do, so that we can, one, not forget about Josie and everybody know who she is, but also if one baby can be saved because of something that we were able to share, then it's worth it to us.
Yeah, the chart that you just had on the screen, we found an NIH.gov of a 29-year study that said 58% of SIDS deaths had been vaccinated within 2 days, and after 7 days of having a vaccination, 75% of SIDS deaths had been vaccinated. So those numbers are right there. It's just too plain as day for us not to acknowledge it and open our eyes to this.
Yeah, Ryan and Mollie, thank you so much for your experience and education, and talking about your beautiful daughter, Josie. She really was absolutely stunning. We're so sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Thank you both for coming on.